Good morning, Mr. Malo. Welcome. Thank you for your time to participate today in the EBN Congress 2020 under a very stimulating and promising title, Regional Ecosystem Shaping European Innovation. I think a lot of words very cherished by you. A congress that is for the first time fully virtual. It's a real pity not to have the pleasure to meet you again in person. And a congress that is being developed during, a definitely crucial moment. The coronavirus has shaken Europe, well, in the world, to its core. Needs and challenges emerge, and plans about the future need to be developed. For this first session or the second day, Mr. Malo, I would like to discuss with you about all these things and the role of innovation, technology, startups, scale-ups, and ecosystems for the recovery and the future. And if possible, about the challenges and actionable opportunities for business innovation centers. So let's start by the beginning. I think everybody knows you, Mr. Malo, but just in case you know some a little bit distracted people, you are director at European Innovation Council. What is EIC?
So first of all, good morning, Christina. It's a real pleasure to be with you today and to participate to this important EBN event. I'm indeed in charge of the European Innovation Council, which is, as you know, an idea that has emerged already 4 years ago, where we take stock of the situation regarding the support to innovation, in particular to game-changing innovation in Europe, and where we came to the conclusion that in one hand, Europe remains a leader in this capacity to generate radical new technology, in this capacity to generate knowledge. Look, for example, how many European researchers are receiving Nobel Prize. Look at the share of European as far as publication is concerned. Look also at the number of patents that are coming from European. There we are clearly still leaders in a number of domains, including the ones that will drive the future society. But on the other hand, we remain very weak despite a number of measures that we have taken and that have proved to be successful in another avenue, which is our capacity to accompany our innovators in turning their idea into concrete products and companies, and therefore creating growth and jobs for European citizens. The EIC is about all of this, in fact, and the EIC has the ambition to provide to the European innovation ecosystem the single one-stop shop where we could provide support on one hand to those who have new ideas for emerging technologies, and on the other hand, to accompany the scaling up of our startup and deep tech oriented SMEs.
Oh, great challenges, Mr. Malo, great
Indeed,
challenges.
indeed, indeed.
And definitely very embedded, in, the mission of the business innovation centers. And I think everything which is around innovation and turning all these ideas and knowledge into, realities that create jobs and create, welfare for the Europe. So Horizon 2020, the ongoing EU framework program is coming to an end. You are, I think, intensively working in its successor, Horizon Europe. So can you tell us a little bit about, the future of this innovation policy? What's going on?
As you said rightly, I mean the successor of Horizon 2020 or Horizon Europe is coming to an end. It is preparation. I mean the Council and the European Parliament are fine-tuning the last adjustment, and not the smallest one is a debate on the budget, of course, but. In Horizon Europe, what we want to do, of course, is to build on the achievement and success of the current research and innovation program. And in this context, we will continue to strengthen research and innovation to spur Europe's economic growth by increasing its competitiveness and its capacity to generate and to preserve jobs. But we would like to go a step further. And there are a number of major novelties in this context, and I will in particular highlight the innovation dimension. First of all, it's absolutely crucial in a moment where we want to create the condition for the right transition towards a greener economy, towards a more digital economy, but also towards a more sustainable and more inclusive economy, which is at the heart of the model of society of the European Union, even more in the context of the current pandemic. To do that, it was necessary, therefore, to also, in the context of the Research and Innovation Framework Program, not only to build on what is working very well, but also to explore new avenues. Within these new avenues, I'd like to, in particular, to insist on the missions that we intend to launch, which has really the purpose to create and to mobilize, in fact, and bundle research and innovation in critical areas that can make a change in the life of our citizen, in areas such as healthy waters, climate neutral and smart cities, soil health and food, adaptation to climate change and societal transformation, and cancer research. I'd like to insist on the importance of European partnerships, which are public and private partnerships between either public and the European Union, the European Commission representing the European Union, and public institution in the context of institutional partnership using the Article 185 of the treaty, or a public-private partnership with a large corporate in a particular domain using Article 187 of the treaty, where we would like really to make a change also in certain clear value chain sector. This will take place mainly within the second pillar of the Future Horizon Europe. But on top of this, and you can imagine that, of course, in this second pillar, you will have, of course, research, but by definition, innovation dimension. But on top of this, we would like to dedicate a particular pillar to innovation, which is in the trends that you can see looking at the various previous framework program, where gradually we are including more and more innovation-related support in order to turn, in fact, and to use the knowledge which is created thanks to our top-level quality research towards use, towards concrete use via innovation activities. And this third pillar will be composed, in fact, of three main stones. The European Innovation Council, on which I said already a few words, but also the European Institute of Technology, which is a kind of evident partner for the EIAC, which is more dealing with this objective to create a link within the triangle of knowledge between education, research, and innovation, more at a local level, and with whom we have signed, I'm sure you have noted, a letter of intent between the EIC and the first wave KICS, the knowledge and innovation community of the EIT, a few weeks ago. And a third program, which appear smaller in terms of budget, because within the proposal of the Commission, the budget for this program, which is called EU Innovation Ecosystem, is only €500 million, but which is central, which is pivotal, because the objective of this program is clearly to tackle a real weakness in Europe, which is the lack of connectedness between the various innovation hubs in Europe, the lack of data informing us on where we are regarding the support to innovation in Europe, the lack of cooperation that remains an issue between the various actors dealing with innovation ecosystem, starting in particular with the innovation agencies, but also with the innovation all over Europe, which is one of the main differences that we have, for example, with a country like the United States, where you have a fragmented innovation ecosystem, but where the various innovation hubs are connected to each other. So these are some of the main novelties that we will have within this new framework program, Horizon Europe. I'd like not to be too long to insist maybe also on two other key dimensions. The importance that we will provide to the objective of the European Green Deal. Over 35% of the overall Horizon Europe spending will contribute to climate objective mainstream across the program. And last but not least, the importance of tackling the innovation divide. So everybody have, of course, in mind the issue of the widening countries, what we are calling the widening countries, for which a particular part of the program is dedicated. But this is going even beyond this. You have an innovation divide also in terms of gender. And this is something that we would like to tackle, in particular in the context of the third pillar, and more in particular in the context of the EIC, where we have already launched a number of concrete action for this purpose in the context of the pilots that we are testing now.
That's very important, Mr. Malo. I think you are putting the right question when linking all this innovation, all this technology for social objectives, which in fact is, the key of, the citizens, the key of the EU. So, well, all these structural, let's say, ongoing challenges, then the coronavirus arrived. Then we are in a very different situation from the one we expected to be, this year. So now we are in a moment when the European Commission has put forward a proposal for a major recovery plan to ensure the recovery is, as you mentioned, is sustainable, is inclusive, is green, is fair, is a lot of very good adjectives. For this new recovery instrument, Next Generation EU, is provided additional funding or approach to boost the innovation?
So you mentioned, Cristina, something which is indeed very, very important. I mean, we are in a very particular situation. You underline it perfectly in your introduction as well as in this question with the COVID pandemic that we are suffering of. It's not only a sanitary crisis; it's also an economic, a social crisis. And for this reason, the Next Generation EU initiatives, the so-called recovery plan, is coming really at a very important moment. I mean, it aims to accelerate the recovery and to repair Europe's socio-economic tissues from the blow caused by the pandemic. And with this effort, we have the intention not only to repair the socio-economic tissues, as I said, but also to use this opportunity due to the difficulty we are facing to accelerate the transition in order to be even stronger than we were before the crisis. And in particular, I will not insist here on the evident effort, the massive effort of the recovery plan for the benefit of countries in a solidarity way, on which it is important, nevertheless, to insist. But I will focus more on a part of the recovery plan, a part of the Next Generation EU that will benefit in particular to research and innovation. And you know that in the proposal that has been agreed within the Head of State, so at the level of the European Council in last July, 5 billion euro of this plan will be added, in fact, to the budget that will come from the multi-financial framework source for Horizon Europe. Not for everybody, not for every topic, because the purpose here is to have a quick impact that can indeed make a change And this is why the 5 billion are for the time being proposed to be used in particular in order to accelerate the transition towards the green economy, towards the digital transition, to support what we have to do in the health sector, and last but not least, to support game-changing innovation. So in other words, three clusters of the Pillar 2, and within the Pillar 3, the European Innovation Council. Allow me to add something there. Because one of the characteristics usually of the European Innovation Council is that the European Innovation Council is mainly bottom-up. But regarding the Next Generation EU, and because of the objective of the Next Generation EU agenda, it's obvious that we will have to focus our investment and therefore to focus them in order to deliver the priority of the Union. So very likely to use this budget in order to go quicker towards the Green Deal transformation, to go quicker also towards the digital transformation, as well as contributing to the priorities that have been established in the context of the priority value chain mentioned notably by Commissioner Gabriel and Commissioner Breton.
Oh, this is a very good reflection, and I think it's very clear to understand the context and to understand the different approaches of the different instruments, and future is combining all of them. So let's go back to the EIC and let's speak a little bit about one, let's say, flagship initiative, which is the EIC Accelerator. I think for the last call, I think we have the highest demand, I think, ever, more than 4,000 proposals. Can you update us where the EIC is now? How many grants? How many equity? Is there any investment closed?
Very good question. Indeed, as you said, one of the main novelty within the EIC that we are already testing at the request of the European Council in the summer of 2018 is indeed the EIC Accelerator and this blended finance type of support. So a combination of grant and equity financing. And we have started to test this new approach in October last year. So we are 1 year after the beginning of this pilot. And to answer concretely to your question, up to now, we have received more than 10,000 applications requesting more than 29 billion euro. So you may imagine the level of the demand. But more than this, one third of them passed all the threshold in terms of quality. Meaning that in reality, the demand in 1 year that is deemed to be assessed more in depth because the quality is there, is representing the budget that we are calling for the whole EIC for the next 7 years. It gives you an idea of what is at stake here. Sure. Now, regarding the support that we have provided, in fact, during the last year, we have selected a bit more than 255 beneficiaries. I said a bit more because you have always one or two deals that are a bit longer in terms of negotiation, representing more than 1 billion euro of investment. And when you look at the 1 billion euro of investment, you have a bit more than 60% that will take the form of equity, so more than 600 million euro. And this will cover not the 255 beneficiaries, but around 140, 150, because we don't know yet what will be the result of the last call, where, as you said rightly, we have received more than 4,000 applications, and on which we will provide the results of our evaluation already in December, because this is one of the characteristics also of the EIC. We have to provide answers to the startup and the SMEs quickly. They have submitted a proposal in early October. They will receive the result in early December. It's at the heart of the DNA of the EIC. I mean, we want to be agile, we want to be reactive, but also proactive. We want to be flexible. What we are, when we look at the portfolio of companies that we are supporting from the beginning, I mean, because as you know, the EIC is building also on the SME instrument as far as the EIC accelerator is concerned. What is very promising also is that we can see that around 20% of the company we are supporting are dealing already with Green Deal technology. And this is very promising because we have already a target which is in line with what we would like to achieve in the future. And when we look also of this portfolio of companies that we have supported from the very beginning, we can see that they have been able to leverage more than 5.3 billion euro of follow-up investments, meaning that indeed we have been able to attract a number of companies that have the potential to scale up. Over 40 of them have already achieved market valuation over 100 million euro, including 17 IPOs. So the target is there, the portfolio is there, but we want to go a step further because we see that we are not addressing totally the scope that we have in mind, especially the type of companies that are very demanding in terms of expenditure for research and technical development and innovation purpose, where the return on investment may be longer because it takes time to validate the technology and to have and it requires very expensive investments. And this is also at the heart of our target group. Reason why the type of investments that we would like to do are characterized, in fact, by being silent investors, long-term investments, and where we can be within the company for a duration that could be longer than usually is the length of investment of venture capital. Having said that, and I will stop on this, our purpose is certainly not to crowding out private investment. On the contrary, our purpose is to create the condition for crowding in private investments. And our ambition clearly is to create the condition for co-investments in these companies with support provided by our side, but also complemented by the private sector or assimilated private sector. I have here in mind promotional institution that you know very well in EBN. And this is why we are working very closely with them, and we would like to expand this cooperation with them in the future. If you want to have more information on the results, and I will stop there, Cristina, I refer our audience to the last report that we have published in September 2020, which is called the Deep Tech Europe Report on the Impact of the EIC, where all the data are presented.
Thank you for the info. I think yes, a clear report, and but some question emerged from your reflections, and because we have a shared objective to detect, to identify the best companies and help them to, let's say, growth, and let's say to arrive to the next level, as you mentioned, with all this EIC accelerator. So our role, we are a network of business innovation center. We have nodes in every part of Europe. Let's say we act as part of the regional and local ecosystem. We are a stable network. How can we help you to really detect those promising companies? How a stable network as EBN can contribute to the goals, acting, as a, this connectedness you always mention. Maybe the plugin mechanism is going to help us to really work in levels?
No, it's a very important question that you are addressing here, Christina, because I mean, there is always something that I'm saying. Money is very important, but money is insufficient to help the growth and the scaling up of our company. What is even more important, at a certain extent, is to create the condition for an innovation ecosystem friendly environment for our companies, and in this context we all build up the same European innovation ecosystem. And a widespread network of the EBN community, as you know, is already well supporting innovative entrepreneurs, startups, and SMEs at local level to develop them and to help them to grow up. And we should reinforce the way to cooperate, in particular with the EBN members. And I see there a number of avenues. When I say the money is not sufficient, it's also illustrated in the fact that within the EIC, we are not only providing support via the accelerator or via the pathfinder in the upstream dimension of the EIC, where we support the emergence of emerging technology, but we are also providing services, business acceleration services that are taking the form of business coaching, mentoring, access to large corporates. We are organizing corporate days with big corporates in order to create the link between startup and SMEs and large corporate in a particular sector, helping them therefore to have maybe some first contracts, and for the large corporate to have access to new innovators that can have an impact also on their market. We are creating also link with procurers, because in this context, in particular, with new technology approach, it's very important to see how innovative procurement can play a role. But we are reflecting currently on how we could propose a global offer of business acceleration services, providing support on our side, but also providing support by other actors of the innovation ecosystem, including in particular EBN members, because it would be a not relevant way to use our resources and our skills and competencies, not to find a way to propose to our startup and SMEs a coherent offer, and we should avoid to have overlapping of services. So we should merge our approach and work more together. We have started, in fact, to explore this type of approach with another actors that I mentioned at the beginning of our talk, Cristina, which is EIT, and we are developing with the EIT, and in particular with some EIT knowledge and innovation community, notably in the energy sector or in the digital sector or climate sector, the way to offer to our common startups a single portfolio of business acceleration services. So it's one avenue that I think we should explore even more in depth regarding EBN. Networks like yours can also greatly contribute to the strengthening of the pan-European innovation ecosystem. And I mentioned in my introduction that we have another program, which is EU Innovation Ecosystem, where by definition, our purpose is to stimulate the connectedness in between the various capacities and skills that exist in this area. And by sharing best practices and ensuring high quality and business acceleration support across Europe, I'm sure that we can create better conditions to narrowing the European innovation gap in this context.
I'm very, very happy to hear you about, the in all these ideas. Everything is about, ecosystems and how to connect people with people. And for these, stable networks at ESBN, that let me remind just some figures, key figures. It's 4,000 companies created every year and more than 2,000 companies supported to really keeping growing and scaling. This is our common challenge, and I'm very glad to be part of this, European ecosystem. So let's cook ideas and actions together for these common challenges. Thank you very much, Mr. Malo, for your participation today in the Congress.
It was a very, very, very real pleasure for me, and I'm sure that maybe in 1 year time, in an event that I hope will be physical, we can take stock on the progress that we made to reinforce our cooperation.
Sure. Thank you very much. See you
Thanks a
soon.
lot. Bye
Bye.
bye.